Hi, I'm Brandon,
Hi, I'm Ryan,
and we play games.
and today we are going to talk about the game Campy Creatures from Keymaster Games.
Yes, we are. So, it's a cool game.
It is a cool game. Let's see what's inside.
Let's see what's inside.
It is 2 to 5 players.
It is.
It is ages 14 and up. And this is also the second edition. And the suggested game time is about 20 to 30 minutes.
So first off, we have quite possibly the best named manual ever.
Yeah, this is really cool. I like the artwork as well. I love the artwork for this game in general. Parks is a game I've mentioned before by Keymaster Games that also has really fantastic artwork. And I feel like they kind of have the same theme going. Let's see inside the box, because Parks does this
that's
as well,
right.
where they have artwork inside, and Campy Creatures also has cool artwork inside the cover box, which is one of the monsters in the game that will show you. It's the kaiju.
Yeah.
So,
It's kind of like the small touches in games that kind of make them better. All right. Next up, we have your scorecard. Pretty simple stuff. Do you want to talk about the cards?
what about the Clash-O-Meter, Brandon?
Oh,
Why don't you tell me
yes.
about the Clash-O-Meter?
Let's talk about the Clash Meter. This is actually a very simple and easy way to keep track of players. Each player signed a token, basically a code that goes along with the cards, and this is basically used as a tiebreaker. So at any point there's a tie, you'd use the Clash Meter to determine who went first. Then that person's moved down to the bottom, and the next person gets to go first on the next tie. So it's just kind of a nice, easy way to balance out the game, and definitely a lot less friction because everybody knows exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah,
So-
it's nice. Everyone kind of has a chance. So.
Yeah. Just a little guy tokens, keep track of your score.
Now, if I had any complaint with this game, it would be just I wish the scorecard was a little bit bigger as far as where the numbers go, because it is easy to bump these. There is not a lot of space for your token on here,
Yeah.
and especially if you have to kind of stack them.
Kind of.
So I wouldn't mind the number spaces being a little bit bigger. Just to
Yeah,
accommodate
but at
that.
the same time, they're all just trying to fit into the small box.
Right.
So it's understandable. All right. Next, we have locations. Why don't you talk about those?
Yes. All right, there are several location cards in the game, and depending on how many rounds in the game you play, determines how many location cards you'll have. So when we played, I believe it was 3 locations because
Yeah.
we had 3 rounds. Each one has like a special ability that can score you points or give you a benefit in another round. Some are better than others. For instance, there's one I got the first time we played, which is the Lunar Base, and that one is where you can use it later on to weaken a creature by 2 points after a future turn. So that can come in handy if somebody plays like a high number creature and you want to lower it, and then they're going to have to change the creature, so you might have benefit of picking your cards, which will show how that works in a minute. So yeah, different ones just have different abilities. There's Secret Base. The more of the assistants you capture, the more points you get. There's the Graveyard and a few other ones. So
Yeah.
it's
It
a
just
nice,
kinda adds a nice
added,
little-
added touch to the game.
All right. And now on to the creatures.
Right. So everyone gets the same creatures. This game reminds me a little bit of Libertalia as far as everyone starts with the same cards, and you play that card in secret and then reveal it, and depending on the number and the ability will determine who goes first, who picks, and all that kind of stuff. So we'll go through, I guess we'll go like least to highest.
All right. So you want to start out with the blob?
Yeah.
All right. The blob. Discard a creature in your hand and absorb its strength. So this is when there's a card out on the table and you really want it, but you're also afraid other people might bid too high on it. And so you you can use the blob to bring out like the level 8 kaiju later, and that way you can just take all of it.
Yeah, and the blob's nice to play if somebody plays just kind of middle range cards, and you don't have to waste a high card. You can play like a 5 or a 6 and still keep some of your high cards. So,
yep. All right.
What else we got? The Swamp Creatures, the number 1. You want to talk about him?
Yeah. So, give the mortal you capture to another player. This is definitely can be one of those screw you cards, especially if you are stuck with basically like the deep sea driver, who's like a -3.
Yeah.
You can take that -3 and give it to your opponent.
Yeah.
So, all right. Next, we have the Invisible. Oh, the Invisible Man. This one. You may discard one of your captured mortals. So, if you get stuck with the deep sea diver, you can play this, grab another, and then, get rid of him.
Yeah. Number 2 is the Demogorgon.
Now, this is a special case. When you're playing a 2-player game, they recommend you do not play with the Demogorgon. So, return the mortal to the bottom of the deck, look at the one at the top, and capture it face down. Basically, you can exchange the whatever mortal you pick for the top card, but you can't show anybody. So, you can either get screwed, or you could really benefit.
Yeah, it's a risky one. I like it, especially if all the cards out are like negative or just not good value cards. My thought is, the next card on top is going to be a high value because there's so many negative ones there. Mm-hmm. Plus, I like that no one can see what the card is.
Yes.
So it could be something really good that no one knows that I have. Mm-hmm. So,
all right. Up next, we have the Mummy. Why don't you talk about that one?
The Mummy's interesting, especially when you play it and the other person doesn't play the card that you want. So the Mummy you capture immediately if a kaiju is in play. So it only comes into effect if one of the other players have played the kaiju, and then you get to capture first instead of the kaiju.
Yeah.
So it's a good way to steal a high card, but you have to rely on someone playing the kaiju, which every time I play the Mummy, no one plays the kaiju.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
All right. Number 5.
Number 4.
Number 4.
Invader.
Invader. Allows you to capture 2 mortals. This is really good. Especially in like what do you call it? 4 or 5 players, it can definitely be. It can turn the game.
Yeah, and it's safe if you have a roll like just that's all good ones. I feel good about playing that and at least getting something decent because you're not going to risk picking a negative card.
Yeah, definitely. All right, number 5, the Werewolf. Force a player to your right to discard a creature. Played. If you're really good at keeping track what everybody's played, this one is pretty brutal. But at the same time, the opponent gets to choose. So, maybe they're just not going to use that blob this round, so they can discard the blob.
Yeah.
Either way, it's just removing something from somebody's toolbox. So
yeah,
it's good.
It just gives them less options. And then, of course, they put it face down, so no one knows what it is. But it is. It's a high number, and at the same time, like you said, it just eliminates one from the thing. So,
all right, the Vampire.
Now this one's pretty brutal. So you negate the ability of the creature to your left. So if somebody's played a really good card, you can really screw them over with this one. Plus, since it's a 6, you're most likely gonna get a high pick. So it's almost kind of like a double whammy.
That's true. All right. Number 7, the Beast. I was actually surprised more people didn't play this. Mainly because you score 3 points if it's in your hand at the end of the round. Now, granted, if you don't play it, that's a guaranteed 3 points, which I guess depending upon like how many mortals you've captured can be the difference between winning and losing.
When we played, I don't know that I played that once. I scored at least. I think I scored the 3 points every round.
When there were certain mortals out, I would definitely play it. Like the Damsel, like 6 points. Yeah. Because you're essentially trading 3 for 6. So either way, I guess you're only getting 3 points. But you're also denying your opponent 6 points as well. So, All right, last but not least,
Kaiju.
the Kaiju.
And the Kaiju doesn't have an ability because it is the highest card. It's an 8. So it doesn't need any other ability.
Unless someone plays a mummy, I mean, like, you pretty much get first pick.
Yeah.
Unless somebody else plays a Kaiju, and then you, resolve it by using the Clash-O-Meter.
Right.
All right, so that's our monsters. Next up, and finally, we've been talking a lot about like what you capture.
Yeah.
So here's what you capture. Capture mortals. All right. Separate into a few groups. You have your negatives. You have your damsel, your engineer, your assistant, the cosmonaut, and the teenagers. Did I miss any? Oh,
The Hunter.
the hunter. Always miss the hunter. So, the reason why you're battling monsters is to collect these cards. And certain cards definitely have some certain abilities. Take the teenagers. If you have more teenagers, you get 7 points. But if you have the second most, you get 4. So in our games, a lot of people started collecting teenagers. And kind of the cool things about the teenagers... Ooh, I forgot one. The archaeologist. Teenagers, you can either have 1, 2, or 3 teenagers. And they each count for the total. So 1, 3, that would be 4.
Right. It's not just the card. It's the number on the top.
Yeah.
So.
And last but not least, when it comes to these guys, well, you do have the engineer. If you have an odd amount of engineers, it's -2. If you have an even amount, it's 3 points.
So that's a risky one. I mean, you can benefit.
It is, especially because when you shuffle these, it is random. You might not get the engineer like the first round, and if you bet on it, you might bet wrong.
Right.
So, the more assistants that you have, the more points you get, and I think that's it, really.
Yeah,
Missing something?
No, I mean, pretty much the other orange cards are just straight up positive, and the blue ones are negative.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing I'd add with the assistant is you keep the assistants every round. So when the round is over and you score, all the cards minus the assistants get shuffled and back into the deck to do it again.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing, I guess, to talk about is these little house icons that are on some of these cards.
Oh, yes, the house icons.
Yeah, so whoever has the most of those at the end of the round will get the location card. That's where that comes in.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah, it is a really fun game. We played it a few times and had a good amount of laughs, mostly. This, I do have to warn you that this is kind of more than 2 players. As a 2-player game, this really lacks.
Yeah.
But as a 4 or 5 player, it's definitely hold off till you have at least 4 to 5 people to play this.
Yeah.
All right, Ryan. Overall, what are your impressions?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I think the game's really good. You're definitely right about the 2. You should have at least 3. I think 4 or 5 is like the real ideal for the best games. Mm-hmm. It does have that kind of screw you over piece in it, but it's not heavy. So if you don't like those kind of games, it's not like Munchkin or something where it's just straight up. But there is that element in there. It can be pretty funny though if somebody tries playing like the Mummy card or something like that, and it kind of backfires a lot. So I like it a lot. I think it's a simple game, easy to learn and pick up and play. It has like that Libertalia feel as far as each person has the same cards, and then you reveal. So I think it's a fun game.
All right. Oh, and we do want to mention the designer.
Oh, yes. I mentioned before it is Keymaster Games, and the designer is Maddox Schuler.
So good job, Maddox.
Yes.
Definitely. All right. Last but not least, Ryan, in your infinite wisdom, how much do you think this game is going for right now?
Well, if I had to guess, I would say it probably runs $25.
$25?
Yeah.
All right. Let's find out.
Okay.
All right. the judges deliberated,
Yeah.
and they are saying currently, at the time of this recording, it is $22.
Pretty close.
That is pretty close. I don't think that's close enough for a win, though.
No.
Do you think it's close enough for a win?
Well,
I mean, it's not like an $80 game or anything.
right.
So, I don't know. We'll think of some prize for Ryan for kind of almost nailing it.
Yeah.
So, with that, once again, that's Campy Creatures. I am Brandon,
I am Ryan.
and we play games. Adios.